What's going on, YouTube? Bacon here, bringing another video. This one going to be my VPL Season 4 Semifinals match. This week we are taking on John, aka SCB, coach of the Canalave City Cherrims. Once again, we're meeting John in the semifinals of a VPL season. All is right with the world. 4 seasons of the VPL, 4 semifinals matches versus John, aka SCB. Big surprise, we're seeing him here again, of course. So he beat me in Season 1 in the semifinals and actually went on to win the championship that year. I beat him in Season 2 semifinals and I went on to win the championship. I beat him again in Season 3 semifinals and went on to lose in the championship to Tyler, who we beat last week. And then we actually had also played in Season 3 of the regular season where he beat me. So I actually won the rematch there in playoffs. But again, another 2-2 split here for the VPL record. So looking to break this tie in my favor once again and hopefully make it on to finals this week. Very scary team on tap, and of course John's an excellent battler, so let's get right into the matchup here. John's team consists of Tapu Bulu, Suicune, Nidoqueen, Lucario, Talonflame, Claydol, Mega Absol, Jirachi, Rotom-Mow, Granbull, and a Selgor. His Z-move users are the Talonflame, Jirachi, and the Rotom-Mow. Could honestly see all 3 of them coming in this match. I really expected to see all 3 of them. Rotom-Mow is just very good versus my Aggron plus Vaporeon core, which I've had a lot of success with to date in the VPL. Jirachi is just a really nice pivot versus my team. Whether it's offensive or defensive, like either is good. He could potentially flinch me down with Iron Heads and Zen Headbutts, or if he's running a more defensive type set with Wish, that's still a pretty good switch into things like my Mega Aggron, etc. And also, like, even a Calm Mind variant of Jirachi was something on my mind coming into this game. Like, I have a lot of specially offensive Mons, and I even tend to run my Victini more specially offensive. So definitely Calm Mind Jirachi was something I had to be worried about this game. Like, it's good versus my Tornadus, it's decent versus my Hydreigon if he's running like Dazzling Gleam or Z-Steel or something like that. It's good versus my Roserade. Like, a lot of my Mons that had good matchups in this game just happened to be more specially offensive. And the things that aren't specially offensive, like a more physically offensive variant of Jirachi would threaten. So things like my Piloswine, it could flinch down with Iron Head. My Slurpuff, it could obviously flinch down with Iron Head. Komala could flinch down. Like, you get the idea. Most of the stuff that I had to deal with physical Jirachi doesn't really deal so well with Calm Mind Jirachi. So, and we also saw him willing to run Thunder last week versus Jeff, so it's another thing I have to worry about because he could potentially paralyze things like my Hydreigon, my Victini, Tornadus, probably straight up Oko my Tornadus. I don't really know what the calc is on that, but definitely gotta watch out for the more specially offensive variant of Jirachi. I think he might be deterred from running more physically offensive because I do have the Mega Aggron, and also the Victini to some extent, so I felt like specially offensive made a good bit of sense versus me. Whether it's Calm Mind or not remains to be seen, but Calm Mind's definitely a big threat versus my team. Another Pokemon that I really was expecting to see and was very glad not to see was the Mega Absol. I thought that thing was just a huge monster versus my team, running like knockoff Play Rough, Fire Blast, and then either Sucker Punch or Pursuit would have been super problematic for me. Pursuit obviously could have trapped my Victini after a V-Crate drop. I felt like he was more likely to run Sucker Punch just because I could be running Scarf Victini. I do have the Tornadus. Like, I felt like Sucker Punch might have made a little more sense than Pursuit, and I do think he probably needed Play Rough if he wants to hit my Hydreigon. And then Fire Blast, he almost definitely needs to hit my Mega Aggron and my Buzzwole, so I felt like that made a lot of sense out of the Mega Absol this week. Very glad to not see it. That thing was a huge, huge offensive problem for my team. Very, very glad to not see it. Yeah. One last note, I guess, was that there was no way in heck that he was bringing Tapu Bulu. Like, I used Tapu Bulu enough in the MWPA to know when I see a bad Tapu Bulu matchup, and this is a very bad Tapu Bulu matchup. Like, Victini, Hydreigon, Roserade, Mega Aggron, Buzzwole, Tornadus, like, what are you going to do against that? You can't click grass moves almost ever. I have way too many grass resists for that. If he's running it, he'd have to run like Superpower, maybe like SD Superpower, but even still, like, how are you going to break through Buzzwole? Well, if you run specially offensive with Dazzling Gleam, you can hit Hydreigon and Buzzwole, but then, like, what are you doing to Victini and Tornadus? Like, it didn't add up from the Tapu Bulu this game. The grassy terrain almost helps me more than it helps him anyways, because my Mega Aggron would super appreciate getting all that recovery. Really, I didn't think made a whole lot of sense to bring Tapu Bulu this matchup, so I definitely was not expecting to see it. John smartly did not bring it. But yeah, that was about it from his team as far as notes go. Talonflame's a threat, Mega Absol's a threat, Jirachi, Rotomo, Suicune, of course, is always a threat. Setup Combine variant, very scary versus me. But then other than that, I felt like he could bring pretty much anything besides the Grand Bull and the Tapu Bulu. So that's pretty much what I went into thinking. That's what I was thinking going into building this team. And let's get right into it here. So leading off here, we've got Ron Swanson, the Mega Aggron, once again coming back with Heavy Slam, Roar, Fire Punch, and Rock Slide. Running max HP, pretty close to max Spadef, but with an impish nature. What this allows me to do is take a +2 Flare Blitz from the Talonflame after I've Mega Evolved. Obviously with my massive base 230 defense stat, putting the nature into my defense rather than my special defense is going to give me a ton of mileage, even without further investment. So Mega Aggron here, just a really nice bulky pivot for things like the Tapu Bulu, the Absol, can take a hit like I mentioned from the +2 variant of the Talonflame. Basically, I can take a hit from everything on his team. It's a Mega Aggron, so I can take a hit from everything on his team. Just fire off a strong hit in return. Heavy Slam with my little bit of physical attack investment should OHKO the Mega Absol from full. Roar is there just to prevent the Suicune from setting up in my face. Obviously, if it's Last Mon Suicune, that gets a little bit sketchy, but Roar at least will prevent him from subbing or combining in my face. Fire Punch is there specifically to hit the Lucario and the Rotomo, which obviously would resist my Heavy Slam. And Rock Slide is there specifically to hit the Talonflame. That should OHKO the thing from full. And as I mentioned, Talonflame, big threat versus my team. So definitely wanted to get rid of that thing as soon as possible, if at all possible. So that's a Mega Aggron set this week. Nothing too crazy as far as the investment's concerned. But obviously the moves needed a little bit of tailoring for his team here. Next up, we got Birdbrain the Tornadus, running Flynium Z Tornadus with Taunt, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Hurricane. Running max HP with a little bit of defense investment and slightly greed creeping his Absol. I am only running 352 speed. I believe I still outrun Scarf Tapu Bulu if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not outrunning if he happened to run max speed Mega Absol. Don't think he would in this instance because he can actually run an attack boosting nature on his Mega Absol and still outspeed my Victini. So I think he'd probably do that if anything, or at the very least he wouldn't be running absolute max speed. So I really needed the extra little bit of physical defense investment because this allows me to take Knockoff into Sucker Punch from an adamant Mega Absol. So like I mentioned, he can run damage boosting nature on his Mega Absol and still outrun my Victini. So I had to be prepared for that with my Tornadus. So I can switch in on Knockoff because of the Z Crystal. I don't take quite as much damage. And then afterwards I do live a Sucker Punch and should be able to do some big damage with U-Turn or just Z Hurricane and nuke that thing right out the face of the earth with Z Hurricane. So the Z Crystal, in addition to making Knockoff take a little bit less damage here, it's actually really nice for things like Tapu Bulu, Talonflame, Lucario, Absol, like all of his frailer kind of mons still will die to a Z Hurricane even though I don't have any investment on my Tornadus. And the bulky pivot was just really nice team glue for this squad, especially because I am running a little bit more of an offensive build this week. I felt like having Tornadus as a pretty consistent switch into some of his physically offensive threats was really nice in this game. Taunt is there to prevent the Suicune from setting up in my face. I don't really care if he burns me with a Scald or Toxics me or anything like that. Tornadus generally doesn't stay on the field that long anyways. Before it goes out and gets its regenerator boost, but Taunt is really nice to stop that thing from setting up on me. I can stop him from setting up hazards with things like his Nidoqueen and his Claydol and things like that. Knockoff is really nice to remove items. I can remove leftovers from Suicune, I can remove a Life Orb from Nidoqueen, leftovers from Jirachi, stuff like that. And U-Turn, of course, on Tornadus is always nice to get some good offensive initiative versus his squad. So that's the Tornadus set this week. A little bit different from what I've run this season to date. But I felt like Tornadus is just wonderful team glue. Like, it's probably one of the most splashable mons in the format. You can just throw it on a team and then figure out the set later. Like, it's so fast. It's got great offensive move pool capabilities. It's got great support move pool capabilities. It's just really easy to fit on any team. And that's pretty much what I've done with it this season. So, fitting the squad here as more of a defensive type pivot, felt like was really nice in this match. Helped me get into some of my more offensive threats for free. Speaking of offensive threats, we've got Choice Band Victini here. V's up running, U-Turn, V-Create, Bolt Strike, and Zen Headbutt. Max attack, max speed, just to potentially tie with a max speed variant of the Jirachi. He doesn't have good switch-ins for Choice Band V-Create. His best switch-in is Suicune. Choice Band V-Create does like 30 to 40% to that still, so it's a hefty chunk of damage. And if I predict him to switch into the Suicune, I could potentially hit him with a Bolt Strike, which is going to do way more, probably around 70% to him, or a U-turn would just get me some nice offensive initiative on that thing. So Victini here can just punch some holes in his team. Like, to date, I've run a lot of more bulky type team builds with this squad, like Vape plus Aggron, defensive Buzzwole, stuff like that. AV Roserade, like a lot of very bulk-oriented teams based around Wish Pass. I felt like John was going to be prepared for that this game, bring some more offensive threats like an SD Talonflame, potential SD Absol, like his Rotom Mow offensively could be problematic for that. So I felt like if he was going to run more offensively, I could beat him with an offensive build of my own, rather than try and just stall him out like I have in some of my other matches this season. So Choice Band Victini here. Gonna punch some holes in his squad. Like, if I can get this thing in over and over again, his Suicune's really not gonna appreciate switching in multiple times, especially if he's coming in on Bolt Strikes potentially. He's got that 50-50 every time he brings it in, because if he comes in on a Bolt Strike, he's not gonna take two. Like, even if he figures out I'm Choice Banded and wants to go out into one of his ground types, that's still a very difficult play for him to make. And if he does take one Bolt Strike, he's in range of a V-Create later. So offensive Victini, really, really good this match. Just going to click Choice Band V-Create when I can, pick up my KOs, and have a nice day. If Victini starts to punch some holes early in the match, I'm feeling really, really good at better chances for a late game clean with one of my Scarf Mons in the back. So speaking of Scarf Mons, we've got Bane the Buzzwole, running Choice Scarf Buzzwole, Drain Punch, Leech Life, Earthquake, and Stone Edge. Max Attack, Jolly Nature. I do outspeed everything on his team, bar Choice Scarfers of his own. This is mostly here for an offensive check to his Mega Absol. That thing, like I mentioned, is a huge, huge threat. Wanted to have an offensive check to that could OHKO it from full pretty easily, which I can do with either of my dual stab here. I potentially see like a late game Buzzwole sweep if his team's shift. Maybe he's only got some more offensive type mons left. Like, Buzzwole can definitely put in the work this game, especially with all the chip damage that Victini's going to be racking up on his team. Late game Buzzwole clean, looking very, very good on paper. Like I mentioned, I don't think Tapu Bulu makes any sense this matchup, so Earthquake is pretty nice there to hit the Nidoqueen and the Jirachi. Obviously, I'll be doing full damage without the grassy terrain up, so that's great. And Stone Edge is there specifically to hit the Talonflame. If I can break that thing's Gale Wings, I can come in and potentially revenge kill him with a Stone Edge. So that's the Buzzwole set. Hoping for a late game clean here. We'll see how it goes. Next up here is not a waifu, the Roserade, running Life Orb, Technician, Roserade with Leaf Storm, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, and HP Fire. Running max special attack, max speed to speed tie with the Lucario. HP Fire is there to do some massive damage to his Jirachi and his Lucario. Also, I can potentially click it, predicting him to switch out like a Rotom Mow, for instance. He might be fearing a Sludge Bomb, and he switches into one of his Steel types to eat that up. It takes an HP Fire instead, does some big damage. Life Orb Leaf Storm could potentially OHKO his Nidoqueen from full. If he's running Tapu Bulu, that's only better for me because Leaf Storm's going to be doing even more damage in grassy terrain. Life Orb Leaf Storm is actually very difficult for him to switch into, bar like his Talonflame, which I do have Sludge Bomb to hit pretty hard as well. And Giga Drain's just there to keep me healthy. I didn't want to run Synthesis on this set, and I wanted to have a way to do some damage with a Grass-type stab that wouldn't be dropping my special attack, especially because he's got the Suicune around and could potentially be setting up on me. I wanted to have just another Grass stab on hand that could do some big damage to that thing, get me some HP back if I had to happen to like switch in and take an Ice Beam or something like that. Be able to get me some health back on my Roserade without sacrificing damage or sacrificing turns. So that's the Roserade here. Really puts a lot of offensive pressure on his team, and I'm hoping it can snag a KO or two. It's kind of my best way of offensively checking a Suicune if he starts to Calm Mind in my face. Even after a Calm Mind, Suicune should still be taking like 80% from a Leaf Storm, so really going to do a lot of damage to that thing. I can get this thing in on Scalds, no problem. Don't really care if I get burned too much, even though I'm not running Natural Cure. Just really nice dual stab to fire off versus team with the extra coverage from the HP Fire there. And lastly here, we've got Alduin the Hydreigon, running Choice Scarf with U-Turn, Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, and Defog. Timid Nature, max special attack. Like, again, this thing outspeeds his whole team, bar his Choice Scarfers. Fire Blast is here mostly to hit the Acelgor, should he happen to bring that. Also hits Lucario, Tapu Bulu, Rotom Mow for big damage. I really didn't feel like I needed a dragon type move this game, especially because locking into Draco Meteor here would be really bad for letting his Suicune set up Calm Minds for free in my face. I'd much rather be U-turning if I'm expecting him to go into Suicune anyway. And Defog was there just in case he happened to bring something like, I don't know, Sticky Webs. Did he have Sticky Webs on this team? Maybe Sticky Webs wasn't what I was thinking. Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes was what I was worried about. He obviously has the potential for Hazard Stack with things like a Selgor, running Spikes for Toxic Spikes. He could run Toxic Spikes on Nidoqueen. Obviously, he's got a myriad of Stealth Rockers, so being able to defog is really nice for me. Remove hazards from my Victini and my Tornadus and help them put in more work over the course of the game. Pretty much giving everything more switch-ins is always better for me. And I really don't feel like he's going to have a ton of opportunities to set hazards, so if he sets them once and then I defog, I really don't necessarily expect to see them to go up again in this match, just because my team is much more offensively invested. It's really going to cost him something to set up hazards versus me. So that's the squad this time. Like I mentioned, a much more offensive build than what I've been running this season. But let's get right into the match here. So, as you can see, he brought the Suicune, Talonflame, Jirachi, Claydol, Rotom-Mow, and a Selgor. Again, thrilled to not see the Mega Absol. Absolutely thrilled to not see the Mega Absol. He brought the other four I was expecting, Jirachi, Talonflame, Suicune, and Rotom-Mow. Again, pretty much expecting like a more offensive variant of Rotom-Mow, maybe SD Talonflame, Calm Mind Suicune. And then I'm not sure what he'd run with the Jirachi. The fact that the Claydol's here is making me think the Claydol's the probable Stealth Rocker on his team. But it could still be the Jirachi if he wanted to run that. And then the Selgor lead. Again, I really have to fear Final Gambit. I don't actually know if I mentioned that, but Final Gambit's very threatening versus me. It does have enough HP to KO things like my Aggron, offensive variants of Victini, KO my Tornadus. So Final Gambit, Selgor is definitely a big threat versus me. He could spike into Final Gambit on like a Tornadus switch in, for example. And I really, really don't want to lose my Tornadus this game because it's super, super important to help taunt things, stop him from setting up with his Suicune, do some big damage to his mons in general. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. At lead here, I'm almost certain that he's going to lead with a Selgor. Like, it outspeeds my entire team on paper, so there's not a whole lot of reason for him to not lead with it. And if he's trying to pick up a cheeky Final Gambit KO early in the game on like my Tornadus or my Selgor, not my Selgor, my Aggron, with his Selgor, I felt like that was kind of his best lead in general. So I felt like if he's leading a Selgor, what I want to be leading with is my Hydreigon. I think I did say that my Buzzwole would outspeed his whole team, but it does not outspeed a Selgor unless he's not running a lot of speed on it. But my Hydreigon does. So I'd rather lead with Hydreigon. It's kind of the extra quote-unquote mon on this team, even though it actually does have a pretty decent matchup because he didn't bring a Dark Resist. But I'm going to lead with my Hydreigon because it's the only thing that kind of denies him from getting a Final Gambit turn 1. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here is lead off with my Hydreigon here as the Selgor does come out on his end. So turn 1, already kind of an interesting play. He doesn't know that I'm Choice Scarf here, but like I really don't lose a lot from going for Fire Blast. Worst case scenario, he goes out into Talonflame, I break his Gale Wings, or he goes out into Suicune and starts setting up on me. But I do have Taunt on my Tornadus, I have Roar on my Aggron, I have Leaf Storm, Life Orb Leaf Storm on my Roserade. Like, I have enough checks to Suicune alive at this point in the game that I'm not concerned if he decides to go that on a Fire Blast here. So I'm just going to click Fire Blast here, turn 1, as of course we are faster because I'm Choice Scarf, and I do not a lot of damage. Like, this... My calc said I think that this was a good roll to Oko, max HP Selgor, so he is running a lot of Spadef investment as well. Bulky Selgor here coming out from him, but still doing a good bit with Fire Blast as he goes right for the recover and does show leftovers. So, I don't know what this Selgor is, but it took 78 from a Fire Blast before. I'm willing to bet that's a pretty low roll. Like, he's going to need a ton of special defense investment to live this Fire Blast. And, like, there's a 50-50 here, right? Because he knows I'm Choice Scarf. He's got a Suicune right there. He's got a Talonflame right there. What are the odds that I'm staying in to click Fire Blast again when he's got those right there? I'm going to make that read. I'm going to say that he's not going to go into one of those mods, and he's going to stay in and try and set hazards on me. So what I'm going to do instead is just click Fire Blast again and blow away this Selgor. Definitely got the play right there. Like, John and I talked about this play after the game. Like, he didn't think I would stay in, and, like, reasonably so, didn't think I would stay in there because I've already shown the Fire Blast. I'm locked into it. He's got 2 good fire resists. But I'm able to take advantage of that play there, get in his head a little bit, and take out the Selgor. Really, really big there to make sure I'm not getting anything Final Gambited. So, here the Claydol comes out. It's 100% sending Stealth Rocks, or worst case scenario, or maybe not worst case scenario, but other scenarios, clicking Dazzling Gleam. There's no way he's clicking a ground type move. So I go right out into my Victini, click U-turn, get a crit, but I still do a massive chunk of damage to that Claydol regardless. I'm going to go right back into my Hydreigon. I don't think he's got Dazzling Gleam, but even if he's carrying it, I don't think he'd click at that turn. He goes right for the Earth Power there, as I'm able to get my Hydreigon back in. Could defog here, but like I mentioned, he's got no Dark Resist, and I think he might just let his Claydol go to start setting up with his Suicune here, so I'm just going to go right for the Dark Pulse and see what he wants to do. He goes out into the Suicune, actually, so I'm going to get a good idea of what kind of set he's running. He's running max HP, but it also looks like he's running a good bit of Spadef investment. So that either means he's not running enough Phys-Def investment to really take on my Victini very effectively, or he's not running enough speed to outrun something like a neutral-natured Buzzwole, which might make a little more sense. So I'm going to go out into Roserade here, predicting him to just click like Scald, Toxic, whatever. But he makes a good double here, denies my Roserade switch in with his Talonflame, and this is a little bit problematic for me. I'm going to go right out into my Aggron because I'm not Mega Evolved yet. Like, I can still take the +2 Flare Blights if he happens to go for that. But he unveils the Fire Blast and his Life Orb Talonflame. So very specially offensive Life Orb Talonflame here with Fire Blast. I am going to live another one though, so I'm going to go right for Rock Slide. If he wants to throw it away, great. But he does obviously elect to save it here, go out into his Claydol to eat up that Rock Slide damage. So still kind of nice that I'm not Mega Evolved with my Aggron. I should still probably be able to take another one of those Fire Blasts if I'm not Mega'd, so definitely going to keep that thing around for sure. Going to go out into my Tornadus here to see what his Claydol wants to do, if he wants to go for Ice Beam or Earth Power or whatever. Predicting a Victini switch in, predicting a Hydreigon switch in. I felt like Tornadus was just a good pivot here. See what he wanted to do. This is either a knockoff or a U-turn for me. I felt like U-turn was a good play in general. Like, I didn't lose a whole lot from doing it. Knockoff was fine as well, but like, I felt like I got more out of the turn if I U-turned, you know? Because his main switch in would be the Jirachi anyways, and that's going to allow my Hydreigon back in. And what my Hydreigon can do here is just defog for me. Getting rid of Stealth Rocks is very nice because I don't think that Claydol is ever going to have an opportunity to set them again unless he went hard into Claydol here. And because he went out into his Suicune, I get the defog off for free, and now I can go right back out into my Roserade. I'm not getting punished too hard if he's making the double into Talonflame still. I get punished a little bit, but I'm not getting punished as hard as I otherwise would. So what I'm going to do here is go out into my Tornadus, actually. Excuse me. Go out into my Tornadus here. This does kind of catch the Talonflame double because he's obviously going to die to a Z Hurricane here, and he's not going to knock me out from full with any move he wants to go for because I'm so HP invested. So what I can do pretty freely is click U-turn. If he Fire Blasts, sure, like that's fine. I can go right out into my Aggron. But if he goes out into Jirachi, as he does here, I can finally get my Victini in to start clicking V-Create. And this Jirachi is starting to get worn down. It's looking a little more offensive invested, and it's not carrying leftovers. So any chip damage on the Jirachi is good, but Victini gets to come out here, and it gets to claim one with V-Create. He could go out into Suicune, of course, but if I click Bolt Strike, he's in a hugely difficult position. So V-Create here, knock out the Stealth Rocker. Really, really nice for me. I probably shouldn't have to worry about hazards for the rest of this game, which is great for my Tornadus and my Victini. I am able to pick up the KO with V-Create there. So he doesn't have good intel on my set. He doesn't know I'm Colbur, doesn't know if I'm running like Expert Belt, whatever. So he's going to go out into his Talonflame here, and I'm going to predict him to go for a Fire Blast, trying to catch my Mega Aggron. He just goes right for Brave Bird. Has a huge chunk of damage to me here. So that's obviously very unfortunate because he is going to 2-hit KO my Tornadus. Obviously it will come at a great cost of health to this Talonflame. But health on Talonflame is not really something I care about too much. I'd rather have it dead, and I'd certainly rather have my Tornadus alive. So what I'm going to do here is predict him to Fire Blast, because he can't let my Aggron in on a Brave Bird, because I'm going to live a Fire Blast afterwards if he goes for Brave Bird here. So what I'm actually going to do is go out into my Hydreigon, predicting him to Fire Blast here, and getting that thing in to threaten out the Talonflame would be huge for me. So I'm going to go Hydreigon, he goes for Fire Blast, we get that play right once again. Really, really big turn there. It's kind of like a subtle look because it's like, oh, I went Hydreigon there maybe to sack it off or whatever, but I was definitely, like, I didn't mind losing Hydreigon there if he did go for Brave Bird, but I felt like the Fire Blast was super, super likely, and since I did catch that with my Hydreigon, I'm in a fantastic position to just click Dark Pulse. So any chip damage off on the Suicune is really nice. He actually goes Rotom-Mow first, and it does, again, turn out to be offensive on his Rotom-Mow, so I'm going to 2-hit KO that thing with Dark Pulse. He's got to switch out. He's got to take more chip damage off on his Suicune. We're looking like we're in a really good position here. So the Suicune comes out, takes his Dark Pulse reasonably well, but even that thing's starting to get chipped down. It is in range of Choice Band Bolt Strike at this range. Even if he Calm Minds here, he's in range of Life Orb Leaf Storm from my Roserade, so I really, again, don't lose too much from just going out into Roserade. If he doubles out into Talonflame, as once again he does, I still have good sacks in the back with my Hydreigon, with my Tornadus, and with my Aggron. So what I'm going to do here is decide to sack off my Aggron. Felt like it was the least useful member versus team, and he actually just goes for Roost here. So that's amazing for me because I guaranteed live a Fire Blast here. And we know he's not Gale Wings, he's running Life Orb, he's definitely not Gale Wings. So he goes for Fire Blast here, unfortunately misses. Like I mentioned, Calc said I did live that, so I'm going to go for Rock Slide here and knock out the Talonflame. Big offensive threat gone. Now my Tornadus outspeeds everything, Hydreigon outspeeds everything, Buzzwole outspeeds everything. Looking actually pretty good for a potential Leech Life sweep. So Suicune comes out here. I could Roar, but like I said, +1 Calm Mind Suicune is not living a hit from my Roserade. I can just go out into Tornadus here. If he starts Calm Minding, I can just taunt him, knock him off, whatever. Get some chip damage off, keep him in range of my Roserade. So this turn, like I mentioned, I could taunt him, stop him at +1. That's perfectly fine. But what I'd rather do here is just knock off. If he decides to switch out his Suicune into Jirachi, I can find out if he's Z-move or potentially remove an item from it. And if he is going to go +2 here with his Suicune, after the knockoff I can taunt it, then U-turn out, sack my Hydreigon if I have to. Like, I can get enough chip damage on him to even put +2 Suicune into range of Life Orb Leaf Storm from my Roserade. So, or obviously it's in range of Choice Band Bolt Strike from my Victini. So this is exactly what I'm going to do here, is knock off first. I think it's always the play. I can take a Scald from him, no problem. If he's running Ice Beam, I die, but like, whatever. The Suicune's essentially kind of neutered at that point without its leftovers. He's going to go for Scald here. As I mentioned, I do live it. Even with the toxic damage, and now I do think my Tornadus is still valuable in this match. I can Z the Suicune if he's not set up. I can Z the Rotom Mow, and I can potentially continue to get some U-turn initiative on his team. So what I'm going to do here is just U-turn out. If he wants to go for an Ice Beam, I feel like he would have already gone for it. So I'm going to go out into Roserade. I'm now thinking that he's like Rest Talk, Calm Mind with Scald, which would actually be kind of ballsy for a team that has a Vaporeon, but you know, he goes for Scald here. And I get my Roserade in. Again, since he's +1, he doesn't actually die to Giga Drain from that range. So I felt like I had to click Leaf Storm this turn. It's going to do big damage to whatever comes in anyways, but I felt like knocking out the Suicune was kind of priority number 1 there. So Leaf Storm comes out, still does a good chunk of damage to this more offensive type of Jirachi. And obviously I want to save my Roserade to help deal with that Suicune. So what I'm going to do here is just sack off my Tornadus. It turns out he is Z-move on his Jirachi, and he's going to be able to blow me away with a Gigavolt Havoc. So Tornadus is gone. It did its job to this point in the match. Like, it was extremely disruptive, this match, and basically has kind of neutered that Suicune in the back. And now, like I mentioned, this is looking kind of like a Scarf Leech Life sweep. So if he's not running any Fizz-Def Bulk on his Suicune, it does drop to +1 Leech Life. This Jirachi should drop. We've seen a Z-move, and I'll probably be able to take whatever hit the Rotom Mow wants to go for. Like, if he is running Choice Scarf, it doesn't matter. Because I don't think he should be able to knock me out from full, and if he tricks me, like, I've already got a Choice Scarf. So I felt like Buzzwole's just going to come out here, clean up with Leech Life, no problem, get the +1 boost off his Jirachi here with the Leech Life. He wasn't expecting the Dual Scarf. Like, I felt like Dual Scarf was really nice in this game, but obviously this definitely could have been a defensive variant of Buzzwole to help check the Absol a little bit better. But we are running the Dual Scarf this week, get my +1 boost, and I'm thinking, okay, the Suicune should drop. Calc says it drops. But it turns out he's actually a more physically defensive variant of Suicune. So he's running Bold Nature on his Suicune with a good bit of Fizz-Def investment, and he's unfortunately going to be able to live that Leech Life and get off a rest. So I do 3-hit KO this thing with Leech Life because he doesn't have leftovers anymore. That's great. But if he's running like Rest Talk, Calm Mind, and he gets like a Scald Burn on me, that's not good. So what I'm actually going to do here is swap out of my Buzzwole directly into my Roserade, just in case he is running Rest Talk. If he is running Rest Talk and he gets a Calm Mind here, I can Giga Drain into Leaf Storm, knock that thing out. He just elects to go out into his Rotom Mow here as he tricks me a Choice Scarf. So very nice play on John's end. Like, if that had gone wrong, I just won with Buzzwole anyways, because I had 2-hit KO the Suicune once it came back in, and I had 2 attack boosts. But very nice play there. Probably predicting my Roserade here, I think. Getting the trick off on me, getting rid of my Life Orb, and locking me into Sludge Bomb here. So I'm sitting here like, holy crap, did I just choke this game? Am I about to get swept? like, Calm Mind, Rest Talk, freaking Suicune. After all that, like, I played so well to this point in the game that I really just throw it away, getting tricked that Choice Scarf. Like, in reality, I probably should have realized that he was about to trick me there, but, like, I just didn't have the balls to call that. So what I'm going to do here is Sledge Bomb with my Roserade, get some chip damage off, see if he's got Rest Talk. Like, he stays asleep this turn. I see no Sleep Talk, which means he definitely does not have it. I don't know what his fourth move is. I think, actually, in the end, it ended up being Roar. So he was actually Roar on his Suicune here. And that's going to cost him pretty dearly, because since I know it's not Sleep Talk, I don't have any fear of going into my Victini here, taking a Scald or anything like that. Go right out into it, click that Choice Band Bolt Strike, clean up this game with the Victini, pick up a nice 5-0 win, and we are headed once again to the VPL Finals. That's 3 years in a row that we've made finals. Hopefully we get a little bit better of an outcome than we did last season. Hopefully we can go out on top here with a win. Don't know who I'm playing yet to date. The other game still has not happened. They're actually right in the thick of like academic finals at Villanova right now. So little bit behind on that. So there, once we see who we're playing, get prepped and everything. But I don't even know my finals opponent here. Much less have I started prepping for it. So you guys will see that game when it comes. Don't know yet when that's going to be. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching to this point if you did. Really good game to John. Unfortunately, this is the last time we're going to get to play in the VPL. Maybe we'll see him elsewhere. Who knows? Maybe John will start getting invested in some draft leagues outside of Villanova. That would be pretty cool. But GG again to John. He brought a really cool team. I felt like the offensive variant, the offensive build of my team was really, really excellent in this matchup, I felt like. And it ended up working out for us in the long run. So, yeah, thank you guys again for watching if you did. Hope to see you all in another video and get hyped for another round of the Ivory Tin Infernape in the VPL Finals. See you guys later. Bye-bye.